Part 2: Ending of the red flag relationship. Let's learn how OP got through this. Well, it's happening and we are separating, and I'll most likely be moving her out tomorrow to her sister's house. Her choice. After all that happened, I am having extreme guilt over this because of the children. They have a mother and a father who love them dearly but are unfortunately in a poisonous relationship. Although she is the guilty one, it sucks that I am always left to make the final move. My kids are 6, 5 and 2 and very attached to both parents. I'm thinking of keeping them here, but their mother will be far away, 13 hours drive, so they will definitely lose the privilege of seeing both parents often. And I'm sure I will get the daunting question of when are we going to pick up mommy. I'm in tears, but I'm very afraid of looking back and reconsidering, hence I may be here in another 5 years regretting this. First and foremost, my wife is still hesitant to tell me the complete truth and details of everything that happened back then, which I started to actively seek, and stated that it may be the only slim chance of going on with this marriage. She is flip-flopping. She is testing me with words to see how I am reacting to them and then going back on them. At this point, she is facing the pain of telling the truth, which could very well end our relationship based on how I have reacted now and in the past, and not telling the truth again and risk living in guilt again because I kept telling her I would not be able to forgive her for something she has not fully disclosed to me to forgive. Bottom line is she wants me to forgive her with no strings attached and let bygones be bygones, and look into how I'm depriving the kids of a happy home and divorcing a wife and a mother who tried to correct her wrong in any way possible the last couple of years. For the sake of the kids, I have even considered to let bygones be bygones and move on with this marriage a third time without getting the complete truth to my satisfaction, to put everything to rest. I cannot help but feel she is trying to be with me not only to keep the kids with both parents and that she wants to work things out with me, but because she has less options on how to move forward. She feels very vulnerable because she had always been dependent on me. I feel if she had family in the States or see that she had more opportunities in terms of being self-sufficient, she would have been more at ease moving forward with a divorce. Sensing what she is feeling and knowing that she has been a stay-at-home mom for the whole term of our marriage, and me personally not being able to just kick her to curb and fight supporting her because of her infidelity, I told her that I will give her spousal support for a year while she tries to be independent. She started to ask me questions to get reassurance that I will keep my promise and not change my mind after the divorce, while at the same time saying she still wants to be with me. She is flip-flopping. In conclusion, in trying to work on this marriage for the sake of the kids, I feel like I am not only giving away a peace of mind that I am getting back in a healthy and honest relationship, but also risking that deep down in the future, if she is somehow able to be more self-sufficient, she may do me wrong again and not tell me the truth, or easily let me walk out again because she is more stable and she doesn't need me. The statements above are speculations of what she might do in the future, but it is somewhat backed up with what she is currently doing now or did in the past. I have ignored my gut instincts so many times in the past and regretted them so many times. I am done regretting, and I feel like must move forward with what I deep down and honestly believe is the best outcome, which is a divorce and out of this relationship. I would also like to mention again that I am not forcing her to move 13 hours away. That is her decision, and I am not sending my kids away to stay with relatives forever. As far as I am concerned, the kids in the long term will either stay with their mother if she chooses to, or with their father if she doesn't. I am only taking about the short term while we are both adjusting to a new life apart, and what I mean by adjusting, well, at least for me to a certain extent, is while I make some changes financially. No matter what the adjustments are, it doesn't matter, because I don't see how I am punishing my kids by sending them to a good home for the short term while I ready myself for a life of single fatherhood. A summary: the wife and OM have been contacting each other for a while, and although at times I was suspicious and brought this up to her, she said they were just friends, and I never looked into it further because he is also a relative that I trusted so much. 2011. I sent her to Canada to stay with her sister for 2 months in the summer. After not getting any call from her and feeling neglected, I made a post on this forum, and I was told your marriage is in trouble, go now and pick her up. I did, but she said if I loved her, I would let her stay because she needed the vacation, so I come back alone. A month later I picked her up. I told her I don't think I can be alone every summer, and she said that she has to go every summer because she is lonely here all year with no family. A week after I get back, she was in a room texting, and after a brief conversation I was suspicious, so I took the phone from her and locked myself in the room and seen the phone calls and the texting about loving each other, missing each other, and wanting to bond and please each explicitly. No actual admitting of any physical affair that actually occurred. I went crazy, and when I asked her why, the only excuse she gave me is she was intentionally doing it to hurt me and get my attention, or she was just testing him. I suspected a physical affair because he was her main transportation everywhere, and I knew that, but I trusted him. I didn't divorce and told her to take oath that they never did have a physical affair and that she would never speak with him again. A couple of weeks later I caught a record of few texts between them which she deleted, and when asked her she denied, and when I was not having it, she said they cussed each other out, so I let it go again. He changed his number. I got suspended from work and took her on a vacation, and after the vacation I seen that she had talked for over an hour with a new number from the same location. So, I tried calling that number privately and no one picked up, so I called him and changed the caller ID so that the call is coming from her sister, and he picked up. We fought again and split for a week and got back together without her revealing to me what they talked about aside from the usual lies. I am not giving a lot of details on the fights, but I was tormented and our fights was extreme. Summer 2012. She begged me to let her go help her sister with her newborn baby in a month, and because I was still mad over the emotional affair that she has not totally confessed to, but I let it slide, we got into an argument and asked her if she was still contacting him. She got furious for suggesting that and stopped talking to me because I was still not letting go of the past. A month or two later, when I was scheduled to pick her up, she refused to come back with me and gave me stipulations for her forgiveness. I wasn't having that and I took the kids and separated with her. 2 months later, I initiated the reconciliation because I made myself believe that I was wrong for bringing up the past and not getting over it. 2013. She spent the summer in Canada. 2014. She spends the summer in Canada. 2015. She spends the summer in Canada. 2016. I find out she slept with him. 2012 without details of when, and not sure if she slept with him in 2011 and the other years, but 2013 and forward, he moved to a different province. 2016 he is getting married. When I say good marriage, for the last couple of years is when she was here. Only God knows what was happening every time she was in Canada and how many time and how long their emotional affair or physical affair or maybe even both lasted. How would any of you feel now? I talked with my family to see if they can be of any help for the short term with the kids in case I needed it, which they were completely fine with, and she talked with her sister and I'm not sure what kind of assurance she received, but she seemed more at peace with leaving. We went together to do some last-minute shopping for her and the kids, and while we were shopping, she was telling me of how I am tearing this family apart and I am not considering the kids, so I told her to see how she would react, that I may be able to let bygones be bygones if she never goes to Canada again and stays here with me. She said if I ask her of anything else, she can do it, but not that. She needs to spend time with her family every summer for a month or so because she is lonely here for the other 10 months of the year with no family around. Then she tried to turn it on me and say, why am I being so harsh and saying no to Canada now after all these years, and if I was still jealous or thinking something is going to happen with her and the other man. All I can say is I have been a fool and blame myself for everything. Yet I can't help but have some lingering consideration in the back of my mind in terms of trying to make this work. I don't even know how to describe myself of feeling that way. I see everything clearly, yet I am still getting some thoughts of possibly making this work. I am fighting myself to not change my mind. This is just crazy and I honestly don't know how to describe myself. She took the kids every summer. The reason she goes every summer is because schools are closed. In 2012, after her usual 2-month stay was up and we had a fight and she said she wasn't coming back. I took the kids back and had them by myself for about 2 months and then we reconciled. And I came back to pick her up, and apparently this is the time that she had the physical affair, or at the very least the one time she is currently admitting to so far. I want out of this relationship, and if anything, I need more people telling me to stick to my guns and don't look back before the inner me who still wants this to work resurfaces. I have written a long post yesterday and deleted it, which was about giving up and giving in for the sake of my kids. I know if I try to work this out I can be happy again with time, just like the last several years, but I'm not sure for how long. I'm far from being vindictive, but I have a hard time forgetting and letting go. I keep remembering both the good times, which doesn't get enough attention, and the bad times, which is why I am on this forum. I want change, but not sure what I can change at this point. It's obvious I cannot change the past, and I don't know what the future holds if we stick together. I thought about giving this relationship a chance and putting my foot down on a lot of things, like saying no to any more staying in Canada every summer and anything else that I may think could cause future troubles in this relationship, but I failed at that before. After the first year I told myself the same thing but got sweet-talked into letting her go again and again. I prefer not to say the country of origin because I don't want that to be an arguing point, since I believe it is irrelevant, but culture very much is a factor. Her admittance to appeal will not only bring her great shame, but she could be cast out from her family and community. That is also a reason why I would not ever expose her for having a physical affair, but I can be an emotional guy and can't guarantee that my emotions may not get the best of me, and I believe that is the reason for her to hang on to her secrets. In our culture, bonding before marriage is highly looked down upon, let alone an adulterous spouse. Both of us have been more Americanized and may not be that extreme and unforgiving, but you certainly lose the option of talking to family members and friends from the same community about this. Also, her parents and family didn't do anything about it because she never confessed to it. In 2011, while I was having a breakdown after finding out the texting, she stole the phone from me and don't know what she did to it. She even lied about taking the phone and never admitted to that either, but I'm sure she took it and I just didn't lose it. Final verdict: we are splitting up. The reason being irreconcilable differences. After all, she is the mother of my kids and I don't see any gain from trying to prove that it is because of a EAPA. The kids will be under the temporary custody of my aunt, who resides in Canada close to her sister, where she will be staying until she figures out how she is going to proceed in life. She has the option of keeping the kids with her at her sister's house but refused because they live in a small apartment with her sister's big family. Her sister is getting a house built, and if she moves out or she manages to find a way to settle near her sister, she may take custody of the kids in the meantime. As for me, I am currently planning on taking the kids back in the short future like I mentioned before, and will not be fighting for custody if she ever wants them back and has the ability to care and provide for them. My kids are young and she proved that she is a good mother, so I have no worries there. As far as I am concerned, I will do whatever that is in my power to make sure my kids have good living standards and a bright future in front of them like any other parent. The only unfortunate thing is they will not grow up in the same home of both their biological parents. New update. From my last post, we sat down and talked a lot about the chances of saving this marriage. My feelings towards divorce have not changed because the PA and lying about it for all those years is too much to bear, but I tried to have somewhat of an open mind in terms of considering saving this marriage, knowing that it will take a lot of work and some patience from her while I try to heal and attempt coping from this again from the start. So, I asked her if she was ready to stop going to Canada every summer and willing to stay with me and the kids here all the time. Her response: nope. She is willing to do anything for me except that. So, I told her will she not change her mind, knowing that may be the only slim chance of saving this marriage, and she insisted on her answer. I would like to share that my wife and her sister share a special kind of bond. My wife grew up under her sister's house in her teenage years, and she is closer to her sister than her parents and any other sibling. We even fought many times over how much of her sister's opinions and voices was forcing its way into our marital relationship. Having said that, it is one of the reasons I never really objected to her extended vacation to spend some time with her sister, but as far as I'm concerned, she blew it by her action. This gave me a peace of mind that I was making the right decision in terms of wanting to end this marriage. So, we decided to live together in separate rooms until summer and the kids are out of school, and for both of us to take time planning our future and hopefully come up with the best possible solution for the kids. The reason I post this today is not to get input or opinion about why she is not willing to stop going to Canada or how I can persuade her in changing her mind. I actually hope she doesn't, because I want out of this marriage just forcing myself to think everything through. I'm not forcing her to never see her family again. As I stated in previous posts, I was never in full agreement of her having extended family stays in Canada everything years, yet I never stopped her in the last 5 years, even when I found out about the emotional affair, a move I regret now. I tried to make a lot of changes in the past in order to make her happy here. I stopped working 2 jobs in order to make more time for her and the kids, take other vacations together with her and the kids outside of the yearly vacation she takes every summer. I'm still hurting and don't see how this marriage could work with all the past betrayal, yet I am trying to keep things on hold for me to think things through. Every day that passed, I am only becoming more determined that this relationship is over. Yet I told her that in the future we can go visit the family, but we will go together and come back together, stay about 2 weeks my vacation time, yet she is not happy about that, and I told her that with all I'm going through now and summer is around the corner, I needed her to stay with me and work this out, which she refused for her own selfish reasons. This reminds me on my first post when a poster told me my marriage was in trouble and demanded that she comes back and to work on this marriage. Although I took that advice at first and went to pick her up and asked her to come back with me if she wanted this relationship to work, after discussing things I let her have her way and trust her and come back by myself, a move I regret the most because at the time she was having the affair. But I was still trusting of her. It is true I've made far more effort, if not the only effort, in reconciling this relationship all the time. I post this not to get talked back into saving this relationship or finding new ways, but at the moment I'm puzzled on how any rational person who is not just looking at saving this marriage at all cost for the sake of the kids can come up with any reason for this relationship to continue. It's more my curiosity to find out for the sake of argument. I found out the other man's number and I sent him this message. The truth always has a way of revealing itself. I hope your guilty conscience eats at you for the rest of your life, much like it did to my wife until she couldn't bear it. I will never forgive you and hope you burn in hell for what you did. I even regret consoling you at the hospital when your mother was crying because of your grandfather's passing. Believe it or not, this was in summer of 2012 after finding out of the emotional affair in 2011, before my wife and I separated, yet I gave him a hug and gave him my condolences for his loss, and he in return continued his physical affair with my wife after I left and separated from her for a few months. I really truly considered you as my brother in the past, but you had no problem having an affair and sleeping with my wife, and both of you together had no issue concealing the truth for this long, while another innocent boy was born into a relationship full of lies, and until God made her suffer for her sins and she finally came out with the truth. Your evilness has no boundaries. You came in between a husband and wife who already had 2 young children together. I know you are about to get married, and I ask God that you reap what you sow for being a part of wrecking a happy home and depriving my children of both their parents. I forgave my wife for coming out with the truth, and she is the mother of my kids. Even though it hurts me really bad, we will be ending our marriage. I am texting you this because in the eyes of God, justice will always prevail, and I hope you get what's coming to you either here on earth or the afterlife. I have no gain from attempting to shame my wife in front of the family or community because she is also the mother of my kids. I also hope that this dark secret will forever only stay and eat up your heart, because I wouldn't want my kids to find out what their mother was capable. I see that he received and seen my message, but as usual did not reply. Not that I want to reply from him or engage in any conversation with him, but I am also interested to know if he will call off the wedding. By the way, I never stopped her from getting a job and actually pushed her to go to school or get a job to learn English on many occasions. She can understand English but doesn't speak it very well. I have 5 sisters, 3 who actually hold a bachelor's degree and my brother and I don't, so you can say that the women in my family are more educated than the men. Academically, she knows all her rights but simply does not want to live in the States and go through the hassles of being a single mother. She wants to be near her sister. My cousin's sister has divorced twice and currently has 4 kids, 2 from different fathers, and actually lives as a single mother here in the States, and she is from the same culture. I don't mean to defend myself, but not only am I not controlling, I've actually always given in to all her demands. I believe a happy spouse makes a happy home. All my sisters worked and some now decided to be a stay-at-home mom and some are still working. I never forced her to be a stay-at-home mom. As far as culture is concerned, I believe it is only relevant in the sense of how the community will react with exposing the Pia, which I personally don't care, but she very much does, and that is why I don't have any intentions of tainting her image by trying to expose the Pia. All that will create is gossip about the mother of my children. Funny thing is, back when we were fighting about her affair between 2011 and 2012, she stated to me on many occasions that in this country the law is tilted in supportive of the mother, especially with young kids. She even told me that she can force me out of the house and I will be forced to still pay the mortgage and pay child support because she is raising my kids in the house. I'm not trying to start an argument of how much of what she said is true, but she clearly knows that she has many rights. My wife and I have been married for almost 10 years. We married young. I was 21 and she was 18. She came here to the United States as a young adult. We have extended family and relatives here. My cousin's family in the States, but guess what? She burned all the bridges here with the family in the United States by gossiping about them with friends she made in the USA. They helped her whenever they could and she always talked behind their back. I told her on many occasions, instead of chatting on the phone all the time and gossiping all the time, go to school, try to learn English or get a job or do something constructive, but she did not want to. She never attempted to do anything for herself. She has pretty much cut off ties with all her immediate family aside from her parents and sister, and BTW almost all of this bad blood was initiated by the sister. If it wasn't for the affair, I would have guessed her sister being the reason for the failure of our marriage. Basically, in short, when she says I want to spend time with the family, she wants to spend time with her sister. Forget everything I mentioned. The strongest point I may have are her own word. She told me when she started having anxiety issues and mental breakdowns, and I quote, "I used to have strength and felt untouchable when I was driving you crazy with the other man, and I used to gossip about people who had nothing but the best intentions for me, but now I am paying the price. Some people pay for their sins sooner and some later. I was in the latter category because now I am finally paying the price, and I will from now on live my life as best as I can. I am a man of faith too, and I am glad she is repenting for her wrongdoing to me and everyone else. Now is always better than never, but I bring this up to show that she clearly had a choice of how to live her life, a choice she clearly regrets now. I have been waiting years for my wife to come to this point of realization, at many times at the expense of my own emotional well-being, and I think to myself, you were patient all these years, so why give up now on this marriage? I think all these years I was lying to myself. Deep down I have never accepted that a physical affair has occurred, because that has hurt me more than anything when I found out, and it is becoming harder and harder to accept. Deep down I love my wife, and I'm in such an emotional mess that we may not be able to live together for too long because I keep switching between I love you, I hate you moment. I know what I want, but I can't change how I feel. We live in the state of NC in which you have to be separated, living separately for 1 year before getting a divorce, so yes, we still have time, although I feel like with her being away from me, I will have a better chance of being able to cope and ultimately see myself living without her. As a matter of fact, I asked her to stay here this summer because I needed her when I see her, and she is in front of me. I cannot stay mad at her, and same with her, but she is walking away knowing that this could end our marriage. This also hurts because we have a history of fights related to the sister. I always felt and told her she put her sister over me. What am I in this marriage if she now reveals to me the extent of the affair and then will not even stay with me to cope and fix this marriage, and instead chooses to spend time with her sister? All I can say now is we will be separating, and I hope I can learn to live without her. If anytime this is my chance. My friends and some relatives have given up on me in the past and told me that my wife will do anything to me. I will not divorce her simply because I love her, and many times I felt she sees that too. I feel like she may never see how good she had it in this relationship until it is over. I told her in the past after the year that my love for her may seem boundless, and every time she hurt me, I easily let her back into my heart, and she always took it for granted. But there may be a day when everything shuts down, and no matter what you do, you may never be able to get me back. It seems to me she is still trying to push her limits and not believing, even though I am telling her this is it. It is no longer in my hand to save this marriage. I hate her for what did to me, yet I don't think I can be without her. If I wasn't superstitious, I would think she put a spell on me. I was trying to argue that being a stay-at-home mom can be a choice for those who may think that she was forced or indirectly led to believe that being a stay-at-home mom was her only option because of the culture she grew up in. She always had the choice, and she chose to be a stay-at-home mom. A choice I respected. Being a stay-at-home mom is very hard work, which can sometimes feel unappreciated, cannot be attributed to a monetary value, and I understand that. Which is why I told her that if we split up and she moves out, I will be as supportive as I can, even if it exceeds the legal limits of what I am liable for, in order to help her become self-sufficient and able to stand on her own 2 feet. Ultimately, that is a choice for her again. As hard as it may be to make such a drastic change in lifestyle, it is still doable, and she will be faced with that choice. A choice to attempt a life of independence and self-sufficiency, or she can decide to stay at her sister's house and wait to marry again in the future in hopes of being a stay-at-home mom again. First and foremost, I would like to say that I believe my wife is truly remorseful of what she did, and I don't think she will take that path again, but this is only my feelings. I don't want to get into details of why I feel this way now, but it has something to do with my interactions with her now compared to years ago. I don't expect anyone to believe me because of my history of rug sweeping and lying to myself, even though everything was signaling towards the truth, yet I was forcing myself to believe the lie or telling myself that I just don't know for sure. I also believe my statements of accepting there was a physical affair was also an attempt of lying to myself and rug sweeping, because the revelation of the physical affair still hurt me more than you can imagine. Having said that, she is also an emotional mess because of her anxiety issues and feeling depressed because of everything that happened and we are currently going through. I sat her down and told her that for the sake of raising our kids together under one household, I have no objections of her going to Canada during the summer and won't make that a stipulation of saving this marriage, but for the time being we need to be alone. Given our current circumstances, we cannot live apart, so we should stay living in separate bedrooms and stop having any more interaction aside from what is necessary to raise our kids. She accepted that, and a short while later she came sobbing to me of how she wanted me to take her to her sister. She said she was truly remorseful for what she did and asked me for her forgiveness, yet she senses that I am truly not happy and that she is no longer in my heart. I continue to isolate her, and under her current conditions she can't cope anymore. At this point I don't know if there is anything else I can do aside from taking her to her sister's house where she can get the support she feels to cope and take some time living separately. She wants everything to get back to how they were, but the fact of the matter is I'm not sure if it can, without at the very least giving each other some space. I feel like she is putting more consideration of how she is currently feeling and how to remedy her depression, and not understanding what she put me through in the past and how she kept the truth hidden for so long, and finally putting me through D-Day too. I am not saying my wife was or is lazy. She studied for the driver license test a long time ago, and after a couple of attempts she passed the test. She drives wherever she wants and can do her own day-to-day errands. I am just saying she made a choice not to go to school. I have many friends here who were born in the United States who decided not to go to school because they felt school was just not for them. Some whom their parents are educated, but they decided to not follow in their footsteps and made their own priorities of what is important in their life. Somewhere along the line I got the impression that some of you are stating because of her culture she was already predisposed to be a stay-at-home mom. If I understood wrong, then we may not be in disagreement, but if my understanding is correct, then I disagree. The last couple of days I tried to just take a break and just analyze for myself how I feel about everything. The last couple of days I had many flashbacks of how things were at the time of the affair and how things are right now. I remember back in 2011 when I caught her texting and I was feeling very hurt, going crazy. She had little empathy for me. Something I can say she still doesn't to this day. I remember how she was smirking and trying to hold laughter at some points, especially when I lost the phone, which I am convinced she managed to steal away from me while I was in turmoil, yet she was feeling bad for the other man when I was texting him, out of frustration and calling him names. She was telling me how he was not at fault and that it was all her fault for the texting and that he was innocent in all this. She was telling me that it was nothing more than her attempt to intentionally make me jealous so that I can give her more attention. Yet my love for her and inability to let her go was so strong that I was the one asking to just put everything behind us and have a fresh start. Yet she texted him again, which made me furious, but yet I still tried to put it behind us. I was in a mess and got suspended from work for 10 days, and I took this time to take her and the kids to the beach for the whole duration to take a break and yet have a fresh start. Then I found out that the day after we got back and I went back to work, she called the number 10 times before it was finally picked up, and the duration of the call was an hour. With some investigation, I finally found out that it was a new number of the other man. We fought and still got back together. After that, I've caught her trying to get a relative of hers who at the time was living with her sister and the time with contact to the other man to give her the number of the other man, and her excuse was that there was someone calling her constantly and she wanted to see if it was him. The relative never gave her the number, but we still fought because of her attempt and still got back together. Weeks later, she said through her sister she found out that he lost assistance with his car insurance from my family because of everything that was going on, and he is not able to afford it, so he has no option but to sell his car and buy a car with cheaper insurance. She said she felt bad because he doesn't have anyone willing to help him and it was all her fault. She asked me to call my family and ask them to help him if I wanted a fresh start and put everything behind us. I refused and was puzzled that she felt bad for him but not for me. A husband that was the sole breadwinner for the family, going through so much turmoil that was affecting his job. Yet I still let it go and decided to work on the marriage. With no more contact with the other man from there on, things got settled down a little and the summer of 2012 rolled around. I was against sending her to Canada on an extended vacation, but she gave me the same BS she is giving me now, plus her sister having a new baby that summer and needed her help. I gave in to her demand and let her go. Sometime into the vacation, we got into an argument if she was still contacting the other man, and she blamed me for not letting go of the past and stopped talking to me and answering my calls. I lost contact with my children for the rest of the summer. At the end of the summer, I left and my children were brought to my mom's house to spend time with me. I went back and forth to her sister's house for a week or so, apologizing to her and pleading with her to come back with me. She made some stipulations for me in order for her to come back, to either find a way to move her to Canada near her sister's house or paying her a lump sum of money to her and her family. When I refused, she made lies about me to her sister and family, how I was not a good provider and she was suffering here in the States and my kids didn't even have the basic necessities of food. A move that was contested by me and my cousin's family here, who knew what a great life she was having. Not only was I a good provider to her, I was sending money to her parents back home to help support them. Family and friends here were witness that she was not lacking anything, especially food. On the contrary, she was showing up with brand new clothes and jewelry to every family gathering. Sometime into the mess, I got into a heated argument with her and her sister where the police were called. When the police showed up and her brother-in-law interpreting, she made accusations against me that I was an abusive husband and I forcefully took the kids from her. The police told her since the kids were with me at the time, they couldn't take them from me, and that if she wanted to make a case, she needed to come back to the States and handle things with me here. At that point, I took the kids and left for the States the next day. I was sobbing all the way back and miserable when I came here because I wanted her back. I put the kids in daycare and lived the life of a single father. Yet I was the one who initiated reconciling, and in order for her to come back, I paid a lump sum to her parents and her. Yet when we came back together, she tried to paint the picture to me that I victimized her and accused her of having an affair with the other man for some measly texting she did to make me jealous. She accused me of trying to shame her in front of her family and community for a disposable act that she would never commit. She told me how I can her husband even think that she would do something like that. A move I didn't buy, but I just wanted to have a happy relationship. I still stand by my words that after the summer of 2012 things got a lot better and we had a good relationship. Fast forward to now, when she started having anxiety and panic attacks, in which she finally admitted to the physical affair after some pushing for me that in order for me to forgive her, she needed to be truthful. She admitted she had physical affair during the summer of 2011 and 2012 after we split up. After what we went through the last couple of weeks and after pleading with me for a few days to let it go, she started sobbing and telling me that even though she confessed the truth to me and apologized, I don't have any empathy for her because she is sick and having anxiety attacks. She is accusing me of wanting to tear the family apart over something that happened a long time ago, even though we were in a good relationship for the last several years. Even then, as proof with my previous posts, I was not sure if I wanted out and flip-flopped to the extent. I told her in order to consider working on this relationship, she needed to end the trips to Canada, which she refused. Yet I compromised and told her we can go, but we have to come back together. Another reconciliation attempt she refused because she is stating that she is all alone here all year and needed the extended vacation, especially now that she is sick. At one point in the last couple of weeks, I mentioned how bad I felt about what they did to me and cursed him with the hopes that the other man's marriage failed, like he has been a part of making mine fail. She told me that everyone makes mistakes and I should not say that and hold it against him. The last couple of days with all this flashback, I just couldn't accept how she had little empathy for me during the whole ordeal, and I gave in to all her demands all the time. Yet I am looking at reconciling, but she was not even willing to compromise, staying with me here from now on. I came to the conclusion that I deserve better and post this with great shame. I loved her so much that I was willing to throw a blind eye, rug sweep, and do whatever it takes to keep the relationship. She herself told me now that she doesn't think I can live without her because of all the history between us and how I was still flip-flopping about ending it and trying to consider reconciliation. I don't consider myself to be angry or full of hatred right now. I'm just simply very heartbroken. A heartbroken individual who is willing to write the final chapter of this relationship and trying to be hopeful that my past will not haunt me in the future by having the inability to trust and love again in the future, or repeating the same thing again out of desperation to have the loving relationship that I tried so hard to have in my current one. With that said, I know I wrote this out of pure emotions and how I feel, and this may have not been written in all clarity in terms how I worded everything, but I don't think I will or can write any more about the past or try to clarify anything else. At this point, I need whatever little energy I have in terms of working out the best possible solution apart. A move that seems very difficult based on how things are going during a time that I feel very drained and depleted. I'm starting to feel better now, just focusing my time spending time with my kids and looking after myself. We have decided to wait until summer when the kids are out of school before we make any drastic changes in our living arrangements. Until then, take the time to fully consider all of our options. The wife is starting to change her position on going to Canada every summer for extended vacation and opening up to going and coming back together when we do go. I feel like mentally now I'm already past that and ready to move on. She is trying to work it out for the sake of the kids and has asked me why I am not willing to do the same. She mentioned to me how my daughter was asking for me the other day when I was late at work and saying that she doesn't see me as much. I had to work late a couple of days to catch up on a couple of days I did not go to work. I always had the feeling at the time of the emotional affair that my wife was very much in love with the other man but was still coming back to me because I'm the father of her children. I remember her mentioning to me in 2011, before I found out about the emotional affair, that she can't stand or tolerate anyone yelling at her kids or attempting to discipline them even if they are in the wrong aside from their father, and gave me an example of a time she was at a store with the other man and kids and my son was acting up and the other man yelled at him and she got furious. At the time I was a little puzzled as to why she was sharing that with me, but after finding out about the emotional affair I was convinced that it is because as much as she loved him, she wanted the kids to be with their father. She was torn between being with the man she loved and the father of her children. Unfortunately, I don't think I share the same sentiment, because although my kids are young now and not fully aware what's going on, but as they grow it will hurt them more to grow up in an unhealthy relationship. The sister has been mentioned to be toxic to our relationship, and although I don't want to spend time talking about the sister, she has always been meddling in our relation and has been the cause of numerous fights between us in the past. She has a history of meddling in people's relationship. She is the reason my brother-in-law and his brother don't speak anymore. Her younger brother who lived her moved away from her. Her older brother and older sister don't speak with her even though they live in the same city. Her younger sister also moved away from the city because of her. The sister even cut ties with her parents abroad because simply they told her to leave her siblings alone. She is very controlling and likes to get involved in the finances and relationships of her siblings. Unfortunately, the bond between my wife and the sister is too great because she grew up in her sister's home and she can't simply say no to the sister. My wife cut ties with all of her other siblings simply because they cut ties with her sister. She tried controlling my finances and created a lot of the mistrust my wife had against me. She pushed her sister to get me to move to Canada near her on so many occasions before. Her sister and myself also stopped talking for a couple of years after separating in 2012, and every time I took her to her sister's house, I used to just drop them off and leaving. My wife even told me now that the sister told her she would regret getting back together with me in 2012. She mentioned this to me now not as proof of how her sister was getting involved in our relationship, but because she feels she should have taken the sister's advice because of how I'm willing to let her go now even though she went against her sister at the time. I could blame the sister for a lot of the fights my wife and I had in the past, and even though after finding out about the emotional affair I had sources who told me that her sister also had accusations of the same sort in the past, but having the emotional affair, physical affair with the other man is something I completely put on my wife's shoulders. Even now that the family know of our intention to separate without the true reasons because of me not wanting to bring the emotional affair, physical affair into the limelight, she is the one being outspoken about how everything is my fault and I want to end the relationship because I'm losing the means to support my family and want out. Her idea is that if we separate, I have to rent my wife an apartment in Canada and pay the bills so she can raise the kids near her. I have a feeling things are going to get ugly during separation because of how the sister is, and I'm sure she would play a big role in making things harder for us during this time because she is very vindictive and all about revenge, and she has greater advantage of being a big influence in my wife's decisions. The final update. My wife took the home pregnancy test this morning and it came out positive. We didn't have any intimate relations between the time I started this writing, when the physical affair was revealed, and now, but we did between the time she had her last period and when I started this post, which was about a week or so. Chances are the results are good, although we want to confirm with another test and a doctor's appointment. If the pregnancy holds, I'm 100% sure the baby is mine. My comment: I don't know how real OP's story is and if the baby is really his. That was his final update, and maybe the end we did not hope for. 1. She still blames him for the affair. 2. She refuses not to be in Canada alone for 2 months, where the affair happened and likely continues to this day. 3. She still shows a total lack of empathy.